Welcome to this explainer. For decades, the conversation around unidentified aerial phenomena, or UAPs as we call them now, has been completely dominated by whispers, rumors, and let's be honest, a whole lot of conspiracy theories. But today, we're stripping all of that away. We're going to look strictly at the facts and the source material to explore what is honestly a massive turning point. We are finally moving away from the legends and the anecdotes and looking at how the brightest minds out there are pushing for a truly, rigorously scientific approach to disclosure.
Okay, let's dive right into this by talking about something you have very likely seen before. Remember that ambiguous, grainy video released by the US Navy back in 2020? That footage completely reignited massive public and government interest around the globe. It felt like a total watershed moment, didn't it? The military essentially saying, yes, we see them too, and we have no idea what they are. But here's the catch. Rather than settling the debate, releasing this kind of footage actually achieved the exact opposite.
And it immediately begs a really provocative question. What are these images truly hiding from us? You see, this perfectly captures the core historical mystery here and the public's inherent distrust of these blurry releases. When we look at a grainy infrared video without any clear context or high-resolution data, our minds naturally race to fill in the blanks. We start wondering if this is just the tip of the iceberg or, if it's a deliberate distraction.
To really understand why the public reacted this way, we have to look at the historical context. Section 1. The Transparency Paradox.
Historically, whenever the government attempts transparency about UAPs, or extraterrestrials in general, without providing clear, undeniable proof, it completely backfires. Because past disclosures lack definitive evidence, the audience inevitably splits into two very distinct camps. On one side, you have people who see the lack of clear proof as definitive proof that absolutely nothing extraordinary is happening. And on the flip side, you have people who are absolutely convinced that this apparent openness is nothing more than a facade, a smokescreen designed to hide the real, highly classified data. It's a vicious cycle, really. It perpetually fuels this insatiable hunger for more disclosure and just breeds deeper public distrust.
Because of this endless loop of blurry videos and public skepticism, researchers realized something fundamentally had to change. Section 2. A new scientific approach. Let's look at how this shift actually works in practice, because it's like a giant upgrade. The old approach was basically scientists and enthusiasts spending their time trying to analyze blurry historical archives and relying super heavily on human anecdotes. It's an approach that's fundamentally limited by terrible data quality. But the new approach? That's about deliberately developing specialized, state-of-the-art equipment to actively collect brand new, highly reliable data. Led by initiatives like Harvard University's Galileo Project, the scientific community is no longer looking backward at flawed records. They are looking forward, designing the exact tools needed to capture pristine information.
Stephen Dick, a member of the Galileo Project at Harvard, sums this up perfectly. He says, "The focus is on developing equipment to collect reliable information, transforming the search into a rigorous science." This is absolutely crucial because it signals that the scientific community is officially tossing out the legends and the myths. They're demanding hard, transparent, and newly collected data to bring the search for extraterrestrial signatures into the realm of a truly rigorous, respectable scientific discipline.
Now, let's zoom out for a second. If we apply this rigorous science and we actually succeed in collecting undeniable data, what happens next? Section 3. Birth of astrotheology.
And this brilliantly illustrates our next point. Carol Cleland, a researcher from the University of Colorado Boulder, points out that a revelation of this magnitude could provoke everything from total indifference to wild enthusiasm, or even deep worry. For researchers and society at large, it would represent a major fundamental upheaval. It touches on science, for sure, but it also reaches deeply into theology and human culture itself.
In fact, this intersection between extraterrestrial discovery and human culture is so profound that it's actually giving rise to entirely new fields of academic study. Let's anchor this fascinating new concept, astrotheology. This is the study exploring the religious ramifications of life beyond our planet. Just think about that for a second. Finding non-human intelligence wouldn't just rewrite our biology textbooks, it would deeply intersect with our fundamental human belief systems. It forces us to ask massive questions about our origins and our significance, which is exactly why scholars realize it requires its own dedicated academic discipline.
But before we get too lost in the philosophical and theological implications of the cosmos, let's bring the narrative back down to Earth. Section 4. The Challenge of National Security Secrecy.
Which brings us to a very pragmatic complication. Why do intelligence agencies really hesitate to publicly admit the existence of unidentified objects? Now, if you listen to popular culture, the answer is always that they're hiding aliens in a secret underground bunker somewhere.
But if we look at the source material and the actual geopolitical realities, there is a much more genuine, logical reason for this government secrecy.
Here is the twist. Governments often hide this data not necessarily to conceal the existence of aliens, but to protect the classified specifications of the very human technology used to record the artifact in the first place. Think about it. When a military jet captures a video of a UAP, the data inside that video, like the resolution, the tracking capabilities, the range of the sensors, all of that reveals exactly how advanced our own military hardware is.
Avi Loeb, a renowned astronomer at Harvard, hits the nail on the head here. He explains, beyond recording an artifact, it is the tool itself, a very human technology that can be confidential. This completely reframes the whole narrative. It logically explains the lack of transparency from intelligence agencies. They aren't just looking at the object in the sky. They are fiercely protecting the cutting-edge, classified tools they use to look at it, making sure adversaries don't learn the true limits of their military capabilities.
So how do we fix this? How do we balance the public's right to scientific transparency with the state's need for security? Well, Avi Loeb offers a really pragmatic solution: declassifying older UAP events. By releasing data from decades ago where the recording technology used is no longer cutting edge or highly classified, governments can safely share knowledge with the scientific community. It's a careful compromise. It allows researchers to get historical data without compromising any current national security interests.
As we wrap up this explainer, we can see that the path to understanding UAPs is truly a road full of obstacles, where high hopes and bureaucratic realities are constantly intertwining. While brilliant initiatives like the Galileo Project are paving a new, rigorous scientific path, veteran journalist George Knapp leaves us with a lingering, provocative doubt. Are we, as a society, truly ready for a destabilizing truth that challenges our fundamental human and religious beliefs? Because as science finally begins to properly look into the skies, the biggest unknown might not be what we find up there, but how we handle it down here. Thank you so much for joining me for this deep dive. Stay curious, keep looking at the facts, and I'll see you in the next one.